Great. That's a big topic. Below, I'll give you a clear, well-organized walkthrough of combat versus non-combat, what each term means, the main categories and examples, how they differ in law, ethics, training, the people and roles involved, common effects, physical, psychological, organizational, and practical notes for careers or civilian engagement. I'll keep the explanations high-level and non-actionable, safe and useful. What combat and non-combat mean: combat refers to direct armed conflict between organized forces, units, insurgents, militias, nation-states, where the use of lethal force is authorized and expected. Combat includes offensive and defensive fighting, close quarters engagements, fires from weapons and platforms, small arms, artillery, aircraft, naval guns, ambushes, raids, and other violent encounters aimed at neutralizing an adversary. Non-combat covers everything else in the military, security, and crisis spectrum that does not primarily involve direct armed fighting. That includes training, logistics, administration, maintenance, medical care, intelligence analysis, humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, peacekeeping, civil-military cooperation, and garrison life. Non-combat roles can occur in war zones, e.g. medics or engineers working under threat, but their mission is not to fight as line combatants. Types and categories. Quick map. Types. Examples. Conventional warfare, state versus state, organized formations. Irregular guerrilla warfare, insurgents, asymmetric tactics. Urban combat, fighting in built-up areas, high risk to civilians. Close quarters battle, CQB, room-to-room actions. Naval air combat, ship-to-ship air engagements, missiles. Non-combat activities, examples, training and readiness, drills, marksmanship, simulations. Logistics and sustainment, supply chains, fuel, food, ammo provisioning. Maintenance and repair, vehicles, aircraft, weapons systems. Medical services, field medics, hospitals, evacuation. Intelligence and analysis, collection, interpretation, targeting support. Civil affairs and humanitarian assistance, helping civilians reconstructing infrastructure. Administration and legal, personnel, courts, rules of engagement. Peacekeeping, stability operations, UN missions, policing, mediation. Roles and career paths. Combat roles, infantry, armor, artillery, special forces, combat aviation, naval, surface, submarine combat crews, combat engineers and breach assault roles. Non-combat roles, logisticians, quartermasters, mechanics, medics and corpsmen, military police, intelligence analysts, cyber operators, chaplains, civil affairs officers, public affairs, legal advisors, human resources. Many careers blur the line, e.g. combat medics work close to fighting but their role is medical. Special operations forces often perform both combat and non-combat missions. Reconnaissance, training partners. Training differences. Combat training focuses on survival under fire, marksmanship, small unit tactics, movement under threat, entrenchment, camouflage, immediate casualty care, and mission planning under high stress. It emphasizes physical conditioning, discipline under fire, and rapid decision-making. Non-combat training emphasizes technical skills, mechanics, supply management, communications, medical procedures, planning and logistics, cultural and language skills for civil affairs, and legal ethical frameworks. Both tracks include leadership, teamwork, and resilience training. Rules, law, and ethics. Combat is tightly regulated by the Law of Armed Conflict, LOC, also called International Humanitarian Law. Core principles are distinction, fighters versus civilians, proportionality, avoid excessive civilian harm relative to military gain, and military necessity. Protocols such as the Geneva Conventions protect POWs, the wounded, and civilians. Non-combat operations also have legal frameworks. Peacekeepers follow UN mandates and rules of engagement, ROE. Humanitarian assistance is guided by international humanitarian law and principles of neutrality, impartiality, and independence. All personnel must follow their ROE. These are formal instructions about when and how force may be used. Rules of engagement, ROE. ROE are mission-specific and tell service members whether they may use force, what level of force, and under what circumstances. They are stricter in non-combat contexts, e.g. peacekeeping, and often expand in declared hostilities. Knowing and following ROE is legally and ethically essential. Equipment and sustainment. Combat systems, weapons, small arms, crew-served, armored vehicles, attack aircraft, artillery, precision munitions, sensors, all supported by logistics and maintenance. Non-combat support equipment, transport trucks, field kitchens, engineering tools, medical supplies, communications gear, repair depots. Logistics often determines whether combat forces can fight effectively. Amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics. Psychological and human effects. Combat exposure risks include acute stress reactions, traumatic injury, moral injury, guilt, shame from actions in war, PTSD, and long-term health consequences. Non-combat roles are not immune. Sustained deployments, moral dilemmas, e.g. working amid civilian suffering, and high workload can lead to burnout, depression, and secondary traumatic stress. Support systems, unit cohesion, leadership, mental health care, pre-post deployment decompression, and reintegration programs are critical. Medical and casualty care in combat care follows a continuum. Immediate battlefield first aid, care under fire, tactical field care, evacuation, medevac, field hospitals, then tertiary care in higher level medical facilities. Non-combat medical care can be routine preventive services, occupational health, and treatment for non-battle injuries. Non-combat operations that look like war but are different. Peacekeeping, maintaining or supervising ceasefires, typically with restrictive ROE and an emphasis on impartiality. Stability operations and counterinsurgency support, building governance, training local forces, and providing essential services. These mix security and non-combat tasks. Humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, rapidly delivering food, water, shelter, and medical support. Military forces may be used for logistics and access, but the mission is relief, not fighting. Training foreign partners, advising and training host nation forces, often low visibility and non-combat, but can expose advisors to risk. Intelligence, cyber, and information domains. Modern conflict includes non-kinetic domains. Cyber operations, electronic warfare, information operations, and counter-propaganda. These can be decisive without traditional combat. Non-combat intelligence, analysis, SIGINT, is essential for both preventing conflict and supporting combat operations ethically and legally. Distinctions civilians should know. Combatants are lawful participants in hostilities. Civilians are protected unless they take direct part in hostilities. Non-combatant immunity. Civilians must not be targeted. Parties must take precautions to avoid harm. Dual roles. Some individuals, contractors, police, have complex legal statuses depending on task and context. Ethical dilemmas and moral considerations. Combatants and commanders face choices about using force, targeting, collateral damage, detention and interrogation of fighters, and treatment of civilians and POWs. Non-combat missions also raise ethics, when to intervene in humanitarian crises, balancing cultural sensitivity with mission goals, and handling corrupt partners. Safety and de-escalation. In military and civilian security contexts, de-escalation, negotiation, and non-lethal techniques are preferred where possible. Non-combat skills like communication, cultural awareness, and dispute resolution can prevent many violent confrontations. Careers, civilian transition, and skill transfer. Many military non-combat skills transfer well to civilian life. Logistics management, technical trades, medical skills, leadership, project management, and cybersecurity. Combat experience imparts resilience, decision-making under pressure, and tactical leadership. Valuable but sometimes needing translation for civilian employers. Historical and modern context, very high level. Warfare has evolved from close formation fighting to industrialized total war, and now to multi-domain conflict, land, air, sea, cyber, space. Non-combat activities have grown more complex. Peace operations, nation-building, disaster relief, and cyber defense are now significant parts of military planning. Practical tips if you're a civilian or considering service. If you want to learn responsibly, study history, international humanitarian law, crisis response, and leadership. If joining the military, ask about MOS ratings, job specialties, the difference between combat and support roles, medical and mental health resources, and post-service transition programs. If you're a civilian working with veterans, learn about PTSD, moral injury, and the need for patient, consistent support. Quick summary. The essential difference: combat equals authorized use of lethal force to defeat an enemy. Non-combat equals the vast array of supportive, technical, humanitarian, administrative, and stabilizing activities that enable, prevent, or follow conflict. Both are necessary. Both have distinct legal, ethical, and human costs. If you want, I can now expand any of these sections into a deeper paper-style essay, e.g. a full chapter on ethics, LOIC, or the psychological toll of combat. Create a comparison chart of specific military occupations, combat versus non-combat, and typical training. Provide book, documentary, or organization recommendations for learning more. I can pull up up-to-date sources. Which follow-up would help you most?